Now, a Los Angeles County Supervisor has added her voice to calls for the U.S. government to make reparation payments to African Americans. It comes as a beachfront property seized from a black family almost 100 years ago in California is set to be returned to its descendants. Janice Hahn, who played a key role in the move, called it an unprecedented step.
I think this is the first time in our nation that our government has given back land to an African-American family to make amends for past discrimination and atrocities and policies.
Just some background on the case. Willa and Charles Bruce bought the property on Manhattan Beach in the States a century ago to serve as a beach resort for black residents who generally couldn't go elsewhere. However, the city seized the property shortly after, claiming it was needed for a public park development, but it was left, in fact, undeveloped for decades. The property is now set to be returned to the family's descendants and is thought to be worth over $70 million at current prices. Okay, to discuss that and the issues around it, I'm very glad to be able to say that we've got political analysts Anthony, Brian, Logan and Reese Everson live on the programme to discuss it all. Welcome to you both. The same question perhaps to start to both of you. Anthony first, what do you make of this move by California, perhaps about to return an area worth tens of millions to the Bruce family, warranted or not?
Well, I guess it seems fair because, okay, they say we need the land for the park and we're going to develop it, and it never happened. So the eminent domain, I guess they would say, it didn't never use it, so give it back. That's not really a bad thing in my opinion, but I think that this thing could be used as fuel for other things that may not be as cut and dry.
Reese?
I want to first say a huge bravo to the LA County Supervisor. I'm so grateful that she actually looked within herself and realized that when she knew that LA County actually owned this land, that she realized that an injustice had been done. She looked back and realized a family had been stripped of generations, millions of dollars of generational wealth, and she decided that it was within her power to use her white privilege, set it aside to actually serve and benefit a black family. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that she's got the ball rolling and that people are now going to see this as a precedent for what can be done, because people who have been mistreated by this country, black people, deserve to have reparations.
Anthony,
and restitution.
Joe Biden has supported reparations for black Americans, unlike Donald Trump, who said he didn't see it happening, quote. What do you think the chances are that the current US president is going to push ahead with what is seen by many as a controversial move?
I think that it won't happen. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When there's a thing they want to do in government, they go ahead and do it. The Asian hate crime bill, they've had issues for about 1 year because of the virus, according to what the media says, and the bill comes out and they make it law right away. But when it comes to reparations and things of that nature, we're going to look into it. We're going to do a study. I mean, what do we need to find out that we don't know right now? I mean, the whole thing with the Asians, that was 1 year and they passed the bill, made it a law. So how many more hundreds of years do we need for reparations to figure out what's going on with that? They just say they're going to do a study and they're not going to actually produce anything.
Reese, practically speaking, how do you go about calculating who is owed what, and indeed where does it end then? Like, how far back in history do we have to go? It gets complicated, for instance, with people of mixed race, doesn't it? If you go beyond the US, should the UK seek reparations from Scandinavian for the Vikings? It's practically impossible when you start digging into this, is it not?
I think what we are seeing in LA County is a beautiful model. What we know about segregation is that it was basically created and the states...
But that's a very direct aspect, isn't it? You could see that the land was taken off this black family and it should be given back. But then when you open it up nationwide, there's an issue.
So there's several instances, and many people can look to where land was taken from members of their family, whether it was in the South, California, or wherever. And so I think there should be a state level platform where people are allowed to come back to the state and to show documentation saying, my family owned this land due to eminent domain, due to racism, due to lynching. It was stolen from my family, and we would like to apply for restitution. That's at the state level. From a government level, then there's another form of reparation over the board, across the board, that says, as a country, we allowed slavery to be the law of the land in our country, and because of that, we want to provide reparations for the people of color, people who are descendants of slaves, and you have to be able to show that you are indeed a descendant of slavery. Now, when we get into the UK and other countries, I can't vouch for that, but I know specifically in this system that we had certain laws in place that the United States as a government, as well as each individual state, benefited from. And because we can usually point out a lot of those assets, those companies, that land, if that can be done, people absolutely have a claim to their economic rights.
Anthony, with the global rise, not just in the US, of Black Lives Matter in recent years, now, no matter what you think of the group itself, the issue is firmly in the spotlight. Isn't now the time to bring the issue of reparations back to the fore, even as just a way of society to discuss, to debate past injustices which have led to vast wealth disparity today?
You can talk about it, you can debate it, but it's all that's ever going to be done. It's always going to be a talk, always a debate. It was the same thing under Barack Obama, because let's not forget, Black Lives Matter didn't just come about under Trump. It's been here for quite a while. It was there under Barack Obama. You had all kind of riots and things going on under his administration. He had 2 terms, 8 years to address reparations, never did it, not one time. Now he wants to be Johnny come lately and say, oh, now we should do something. Well, why didn't you say that when you were in office, sir? It's because they're not really serious about this whole thing. They'll give other groups certain things, and the real reason they can do that is because they can identify, it's like you were saying earlier about the whole thing with the beach. They can identify what land was taken, who is the descendant, and then communicate with them directly. But slave reparations, I mean, at this point, most Americans...
ABL, we know that Black Bottom Beach was the same. We know that Black Bottom Beach existed in Detroit, Michigan, and that Black families were removed from Black Bottom Beach. We know that the GAP Greenbrier area in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we know that that was bombed by the government. We know that those families have descendants. So it's very easy to begin to pinpoint the atrocities that were...
They built that back in Tulsa 5 years after the bombing, and it lasted from then up until integration when Black folks abandoned it. So what you going to get back for that when you left it?
Black Bottom in Detroit, Michigan. I mean, these people were removed from their homes and a freeway was put through it, or the park in New York.
Eminent domain.
Again, the point is, if we know that eminent domain was used for racist purposes, then, and we know the 14th Amendment says that no, on racist basis, yes, racism is a modern invention, a ranking system used to justify brutal treatment of human beings, of certain human beings. And that's how eminent domain was used to take the beach from the Bruce family.
Okay, just let Anthony respond to that.
Yeah, I don't understand how eminent domain is a racist thing. I've seen all colors of people get affected by that. Where I'm from in Virginia, I see the interstate has to get expanded, and okay, it could be a business owner, no matter if you're Black, white, whatever, that can be the thing. You can't sit there and tell me, Reese, that an interstate or a highway is somehow racist. It doesn't really make any sense.
Okay.
You can say that it's inconvenient. You can say that you don't like it, but it's not racist.
Okay, Reese, let me just put a point to you here about the optics of the entire thing. Why should people who come to America after slavery have to pay money to wealthy blacks, for instance? Should Oprah Winfrey, who's worth $2.6 billion, should a Slovakian immigrant have to pay money from his taxes to her?
That's rarely the case, and that's actually not what people are, even proposing. Here's the thing. When we're talking about state-level restitutions, we're talking about specific cases, because eminent domain was actually the exact reason that that was used to take the land from the Bruce family. It was simply because the Klan and other white people in the area began to complain that blacks owned a resort and that they owned a beach and that they were going to burn it down. And because the city or the county of LA was trying to basically, appease the white people because they were so upset that black people owned a private resort, that they took that land. That was the only reason. There was no actual intention to create a park. And so that's why LA County has issued an apology saying, we realize we did something wrong here. That's common throughout our history in the United States. We know that racism was used or laws were used with racism as the reason behind it.
We're almost out of time, folks, but I just want to get your final thoughts. Anthony, just starting with you, if you're of the point that reparations aren't a solution at all when it comes to America's legacy of slavery, it's still an acute issue. The poorest neighborhoods in America are black neighborhoods. How do you personally suggest, how do you solve it?
You got to move on because there's no going back. You can't change the hands of time. You had bad things that happen in this country, of course, just like all over the world, but you can't go back in time and fix it. You got to press forward. And right now in America, we have the best country on planet Earth. Embrace being an American and embrace what makes being an American a great thing and prosper. Living in the past is not going to help you. It'll just help you remain there and never advance in life.
Reese, the last 20 seconds to you, if you like.
The Bruce family could have been the next Marriott. The only reason we don't know the Bruce family hotel system the way we know the Marriott family is because racism stripped them of their land and their business and their economic opportunity. And that's not okay. And we're not talking about the past. We're talking about their families still suffering from the economic effects of that theft. And we need to correct those things.
Always a pleasure to have you both on the programme. Thank you very much for your time, your thoughts. Political analyst Anthony, Brian Logan and Reese Everson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, time for some more great programmes to get their start in moments here on RT. Find out what is being served up after the shortest of breaks. See you soon.